But as I've said before, my own proposal to reauthorize LWCF would look different than what our committee has reported. When LWCF was created some decades ago, monies were to be allocated each year so that federal agencies, the federal agencies, would receive no less than 40%. States were to receive 60%. But what has happened in these ensuing years is nearly 85% of LWCF dollars have gone to federal land acquisition. And the original congressional intent we're just not seeing be met. Again, keep in mind, when it was first created, it was going to be federal agencies get about 40%, states get about 60%. We've now turned that on its head, turned it on its head. So what our LWCF title does is recognize that states are leaders on recreation and conservation. Our reforms are trying to balance the state-federal split by ensuring that at least 40% of LWCF dollars be allocated to states for the state-based programs, including the traditional stateside program. This is an improvement in my mind, but I still don't think it goes far enough to restore that original congressional intent. The title also recognizes the importance of accessing existing federal lands, and it sets aside the greater of 1.5% or $10 million per year to improve access for sportsmen. So again, an important provision for our sportsmen and women. Like many Western members, I remain concerned about unfettered land acquisition by our federal government. And in Alaska, close to 63% of our lands are already controlled by the federal government. And so to begin to address the issue, the LWCF title also emphasizes conservation easements. And this will keep lands in private ownership as working lands, as well as require agencies to take into account certain considerations when acquiring lands, including whether the acquisition would result in management efficiencies and cost savings. To prioritize the backlog of deferred maintenance needs, the title also establishes a National Park Service Maintenance and Revitalization Conservation Fund. This fund will help shift our focus, I think, to a more appropriate place, which is taking care of the lands that we already have, rather than an endless acquisition of new acreage. Mr. President, our country is fortunate to have an abundance of lands that are designated for recreation, conservation, and preservation. And it's time that we reach a consensus on how to care for and to manage them. And I believe that we can do that best by allocating more than 40% of the LWCF to state-based programs. People on the ground provide the greatest insight into management, and we should recognize that. We should pair increased funding for state-based programs with increased authority for states to manage public lands. And we should consider giving governors a say on federal land acquisition. It is, these are their states that we're talking about, and opportunities for all sorts of activities on their land that are often affected by these decisions. The LWCF reforms in the Sportsman's Bill, I think, are a step in the right direction. I think they provide a good framework for further discussion. And I think if we work hard and we work together, we can agree on some additional reforms that will make LWCF even more effective in the years to come.